You know my love for iris-based fragrances that carry that signature lipsticky, powdery iris note, and I'm always on the lookout for new fragrances that carry that note, and if they're affordable, that's even better. And lately I've discovered these two that come from the brands of Volare and Atralia. They're called Valerio Uomo Intense and Amazonas Avalanche. I've been testing them out in the past couple of weeks, and today I'm going to tell you what I think about them. Now, I discovered both fragrances more or less by accident. One of them, Volare's Valerio Uomo Intense, popped up at one of my trusted sellers, and I immediately knew what this is probably going to end up smelling like, what this is cloning because of the bottle design and the name and whatnot. The other one, from the brand of Atralia, popped up at one of our local online stores. I looked it up on Fragrantica and I saw what this is supposedly smelling close to, so I knew that I had to try that one as well. I'm going to first of all briefly talk about the one from Volare that's called Valerio Uomo Intense. Now, this is a very quick look at the packaging and the presentation. You know, this squarish looking box that has the color combination of black and silver. On the front you got the important stuff like the bottle size, which is 80 milliliters in this case, and the concentration, which is EDP. Some additional information on the back. I think this is a pretty new release from the brand of Volare. Somewhere there's probably a production date as well. And yeah, the production date is June of 2025, and then this is the way that the bottle looks. Now, when it comes to the actual bottle shape, this is not close to the original one that this has been inspired by, but still carries this signature, sort of on slight details that you'll find in the original bottle. The cap is plastic, but it's a snug fit, and this also has a pretty weak sprayer, I will say. I'm going to quickly use up a few sprays on a test strip, and actually the whole sprayer makes this weird sound when it when you use it. Now, this fragrance is heavily inspired by Valentino Uomo Intense, one of my most favorite designer fragrances out there. And as soon as you spray this one, you'll immediately be reminded of the scent of Valentino Uomo Intense, but unfortunately this is not scent-wise super close, especially in the opening. Now, this carries just a bit of spiciness, carries that sort of an orangey mandarin opening from the original fragrance as well. You'll get the powdery iris note, just like you find in Valentino Uomo Intense. You'll find the vanillic sweetness just as you'll find with Valentino Uomo Intense. But the thing that this one is lacking is the leather note, especially in the opening. There's pretty much no hint of that leather note, which the original one has, and sets it apart from other lipsticky, powdery, iris based fragrances. And that's a bit unfortunate. For some reason this feels like taking Valentino Uomo Intense but almost completely getting rid of that leather note, adding a hint of more spiciness in the opening, and adding a bit of a barbershoppy vibe to it as well. It's like a barbershoppy, slightly old school take on the scent of Valentino Uomo Intense. Now, the more that this dries down, the closer it gets to Valentino Uomo Intense. On the dry down, I pick up a little bit more of that leather note, which is completely missing in the opening, but still this is nowhere near as leathery as a Valentino Uomo Intense. This stays sweeter, this stays more vanillic, and even on its dry down, it still carries a bit of that barbershoppy vibe for some reason. I don't know exactly from where it comes, but definitely this is, again, feels like a barbershoppy take on a Valentino Uomo Intense. Overall, if you are familiar with Valentino Uomo Intense, you'll immediately recognize that Valerio Uomo Intense has been heavily inspired by the original fragrance from Valentino, but this is not super close when it comes to the actual scent. The quality though is pretty decent, I would say, keeping in mind that this is a pretty cheap fragrance. The same can be said about the performance. This is a pretty decently performing scent. I've been getting around about 7 to 8 hours of performance out of it, which is close to what I get out of Valentino Uomo Intense, but not quite. In the first hour and a half, this will project, I would say, above moderately. above average, but it's not super strong. It doesn't push that strong off my skin as well. But overall, I would say this is an above average performing fragrance. Price wise, I think it goes for roughly around about 30 euros or slightly less than 30 euros here in Europe, so around about $30. At the current prices of Valentino fragrances, this is like, I don't know, a quarter or a fifth of the price. So, and since we don't have that many options when it comes to actual Valentino Uomo Intense clones, I know only one other straight up clone of Valentino Uomo Intense. I think if you're on the lookout for a Valentino Uomo Intense clone, this deserves some attention. Again, just don't expect this one to smell super close. Other than that, it's quite as versatile as the original scent, meaning that it's a little bit more appropriate for the colder weather. You can dress this one up if you want. Overall, it's a decent take on a Valentino Uomo Intense without the same scent being anything special, the performance being anything special, and without this being super close to Valentino Uomo Intense. Again, still, I think it's a pretty decent fragrance, and it's a nice alternative of Valentino Uomo Intense. And now I'm going to briefly talk about the other one from the brand of Atralia, which is called Amazonas Avalanche. This is the first fragrance from the brand of Atralia that I actually have bought and I'm trying out. And one other thing before anyone asks, yes, the one that stands behind me from Maison Arsat is Moharib, and yes, I'm testing this one still, but in the next few days I'm going to do my review of that fragrance as well. Probably someone is going to ask in the comment section. I'm answering that up front. A pretty quick look at the presentation of Amazonas Avalanche from Atralia. It comes in a pretty simplistic box. On the front of the box you get this sort of like a mountain view, something like that, that's engraved. The important stuff here is that the bottle size is 100 milliliters and the concentration is EDP as usual. And then this is the way that the bottle looks. As far as I know, there are a few fragrances in this mini lineup, all having this Amazonas name and different sort of a surname. The bottle design is exactly the same, I think. One weird thing about the cap, I don't know, for some reason there's something loose inside the cap. You can probably hear it. It doesn't seem to be broken or anything, but still there's something loose inside that makes a rattling noise. A great thing about this fragrance is the fact that it has a very nice pressurized sprayer, which also makes it feeling pretty close to the fragrance that this has been inspired by, the original one. And the original one that this has been inspired by is Dior Homme Original, or what it used to be called, the simply Dior Homme. This is the first one in that lineup, the original lineup from Dior, that has this lipsticky powdery iris note. This also smells pretty similar to Dior Homme Intense as well, but I find it closer to Dior Homme Original, what it's nowadays called, the original scent from Dior. So this is very powdery, very lipsticky, very makeupy. From the opening to the dry down. In the opening you also get a bit of a freshness, a bit of citrusy freshness, you get some lavender. On the dry down you get that iris note, you get a bit of like a chocolatey or cacao type of sweetness from this one, and some woods and a bit of musks as well. Pretty much this is, if you're not familiar with Dior Homme Original, this is like a slightly more airy, slightly fresher take on Dior Homme Intense. Basically, you can think of it as that. And just a slightly more versatile version of Dior Homme Intense, meaning that you can wear this one even in the warmer months of the year. Overall, the quality of this fragrance is actually pretty solid. It smells pretty close to the original one. I was quite surprised actually, and I've been really digging the way that Amazonas Avalanche actually smells. Now when it comes to performance, unfortunately it's not the best performing scent in the world. I've been getting around about 6.5 hours of performance out of it. I've had it for a few weeks now, so maybe with time this will improve a little bit, but as it stands right now, this is average or slightly above average when it comes to performance. For example, the one from Volare actually is a little bit better, lasts a little bit longer, projects a little bit better, but I find this one to smell a lot closer to the original scent that it's been inspired by compared to the Volare one. Overall, it's an average performing scent, but I can forgive it because I like the scent itself, and it's pretty cheap, so I think it's okay at that price point to have such performance. The price point that I picked this one up for is around about 20 euros here in Europe, so around about $25 again, compared to the price of the Dior original fragrance, and keeping in mind the fact that Dior Homme original, as far as I know, is not widely worldwide available. It's more like available in Europe, so for other parts of the world it's pretty hard to get. This is, I think, a great alternative, actually a great option if you have Atralia sold in your countries. And versatility wise, I think it's as I said, it's a slightly more versatile take on your Homme Intense, for example, because this feels a little bit fresher and you can wear this one throughout the year. You can dress it up as well. In fact, I think this is pretty much, you have to be a little bit dressed up to wear this one, although this is not as dressed up as your Homme Intense, for example. Still, I think you should be at least slightly more appropriate dressed to wear such a fragrance. But overall, actually, I've been really digging the way that Atralia, Amazonas Avalanche actually smells. And it's one of my new most favorite iris-based cheapies out there. So guys, in today's video, I shared with you my thoughts on two very affordable iris-based fragrances from the brands of Volare and Atralia that are called Volare Uomo Intense and Atralia, Amazonas Avalanche. I hope that you found today's video interesting or helpful. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in my next video for your dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.